Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dad Strength Podcast. I am your host, Richie Leahey. Today, there might have been, I'm just going to start with parenting stuff. There might have been some slight delay in content getting published as we move the site again into Medium. Medium.com. It is a publication host that is free. We're moving it here with the intention that I can put everything in one place. I've had it there as a test, and I've been republishing articles or trying to get that started because as I move, I wanted to have a custom domain. So basically, I had our site in Blogger. As I've been consolidating, I've talked about it before. If you want to hear all of the technical details, go to iTunes or wherever you host podcast, search for my name, Richie Leahey, or search for Socially Numb. It's my other show. And I go into detail. I'm going to go into detail. It's going to be released next Monday. I don't even know the dates. So this is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. One of my favorite holidays. And I'm just going to be doing a little bit here today because of the holiday. But on Monday, I'm going to do a deeper dive into the move, the migration since the start of the show. So basically with Dad Strength, I had started it out with the intention of getting it published, try to get it published on Apple News, which was why it first lived on sociallynumb.com. The initial setup was lacking, I'll admit, because everything on the site for Socially Numb was pointing to my other show. And then people who would find it would send me messages and say that it's confusing. Where's the parenting stuff? I had it separate. Confusing. So I broke it out, and I had listeners and stuff. I had followers, but it wasn't as strong as the initial numbers. So there was definitely a drop off. And I know that comes with establishing a show and moving it multiple times. So that's 100% my fault, and I apologize. And so now I wanted to try to keep going for free because the downloads were outstanding. That's not the problem. The hosting and the actual show notes, I wanted to expand on them. And again, try to get them in Apple News and Facebook Instant Articles and other publication forms. But some of the news, I know like with Google News and stuff, you have to publish multiple times a week to be accepted into these programs. And you have to have your posts set up for review. So I had it under Socially Numb. When I broke it apart, I never actually finished my application. But now, after a while, I decided, hey, I should probably do that. As my numbers are growing, it's going to be good for the show. So I went back, republished them as I moved it to RichieLeahey.com. But for the actual Apple News, just naming the publication my name wasn't the best strategy. So I went ahead, made some updates, made some switches, talked to some people, had some people vote on it, helped me out like a little small focus group, and we changed it to the Leahey Report. Now, that was the name of what the publication was on Blogger if you landed there, but the URL was still RichieLeahey.com, and I was doing dual publications on Medium at the time. Blogger is just too outdated for me. They haven't made updates. I'm afraid that my site isn't as good. Medium, on the other hand, it's a new age company. Yeah, they could close at any time. I've heard that they've struggled. So it's a gamble, but so is Blogger. Blogger could be shut down at any time as they try to force people to use Google Sites. You never know. And so my long-term goal, I've decided, is that eventually, if it comes down to it, if Medium fails, all my eggs are in Medium. As long as Medium runs and hosts our site with our custom URL, perfect. They will have my content. Or like if they change their rules or whatever and you don't own the content anymore, I'll have to move it out. But then like I was going to publish it again in Apple News and Facebook and Instant Articles so people could find us a little bit better. And I got accepted. And so I resubmitted with the Leahey Report, got accepted again, threw some content up and got accepted. So perfect. This was all, I wasn't sure if I was going to get accepted, which is why I didn't talk about it before as I just talked about moving my site. So I hate pointing people. If people listen to the old episodes, they're going to be like, this guy changed his site like 15 times. No, it's just been a long process because when I went into this, I had talked about doing a podcast a couple years ago and I never actually made the move. And then I became a parent And I thought, well, I have a topic I can talk about. And with my degree in technology, I just figured I'd do Socially Numb. That's constant 2 posts I can make a week that might get me in to the news publications. I just didn't think it was going to happen. And so that's why I waited and kind of broke it out. I thought, oh, maybe I'll just break it out. But then coming back around and actually get approved, I thought, no, I need to put everything in one group. So that's what I did. The Leahey Report, working on migrating content again. It's still taking time, just like as I've been expanding it. So as I expand the content posts, I've been putting it in. So that's perfect. And that's what's happening with the show. So again, follow Dad Strength. Dad Strength is the name of the podcast, Richie Leahey's Dad Strength, I believe. And I'm going to go ahead, put that in, and that's something you can follow. Look for me on iTunes. Look for me on Stitcher, TuneIn, I believe. I think most of the major podcast ones have syndicated us by now. So the only thing with Medium is they don't have actual pages. It's just all the news. So like it's an article. So I write an article on each week. This week we're going to do baby wipe warmer. And again, this is kind of the idea so people can get a little bit more of a background. That's why I switched kind of the format of the Dad Strength show after the development charts, because I can only write one article on a development chart. So I wanted to go a different direction. So now I'm going to expand and talk about most essential items. When this segment's over, once I run out of items, which I think I'm going to cap it, is it going to be 30 or 25? Either way, I want to cap it so that it ends exactly when Dad Strength hits its 50th episode, which will be later in the year. When that happens, then I might get a little bit more specific, and it depends on how the show's going. By that time, the site will be moved, unless, like I said, unless Medium closes down or something. I'm pretty sure they have enough funding for another year or two. So at least I should be there for a year, and then the theme that I originally developed, which is why another reason why I went off Blogger, is they're outdated and their themes are hard to develop for because they're not like current content management systems, and they use a lot of outdated code and styling. Like their base themes aren't even mobile responsive. So I didn't want that, and I didn't want to spend more development cycles, again, pushing my content migration away and stuff. Medium, again, is free. You can get your custom URL. I think now they charge for you to pay for the certificate, which if I was going to host on WordPress myself, I was going to have to pay for anyway. So not a big deal because I want the SSL. So that's what my idea was. Eventually, if I have to, I'll move one more time into WordPress and I'll just host it myself. By that time, hopefully we have enough listeners that it kind of pays for itself. Because right now, the advertisements and things that I had, they're not going to be available on WordPress, on Medium. I could put them on WordPress. That was my other gamble, but then I would have to offset the cost of hosting and the podcast downloads. So I'm putting them on Medium. I might set up a store. So if you like our logo and stuff and you can support the show, maybe a donate button. I don't know where I'm going to put that and stuff, but that's where I'm going to have it. I do have the Amazon wish list too if you want to support the show. It's a good way. Basically, the support numbers just go for me paying for the podcast hosting. I could move it into a free host on archive.org, but I've heard the downloads are excruciatingly slow. So if people don't actually download the show, if they just like to listen to it in their browser, it might be painful, which a lot of people do for some reason. And no, like I'm still looking into some other people. They just have extensions that they use, and it triggers my account as a Mozilla add-on. So it must be a Firefox extension. Some people will give me different ones, but it looks like people don't just use one. So that's some way some people listen to it on the go. They say they listen at work through an extension on Firefox that I guess gives them the new episodes from my feed, my podcast feed, which is available, which is going to be in a new location. Well, no, the feed location is going to be the same. So you don't have to worry about changing that. It's just the actual content posts. And I think some of the links, depending on if you visited our site and you have a copy of the SSL has changed. So you have to clear your cookies for it to redirect you to the new site correctly. Or you can just go ahead and rebookmark Leahey Report. And I think the feed is /feed. But that's it for the updates to Dad Strength. Our daughter, oh man, she got hit hard by daylight saving time, which I knew was going to happen. I threw her off her nap. She was staying up till like 11 at night. We tried to put her to bed early. It didn't really happen because as parents, you want to do stuff. When I come home from work, I want to play with my daughter. So it's very hard to like put her to bed early to get ready for daylight saving time. But now she wasn't napping at first. Today she took a great nap. And so that's what we're working on. But that's it from the Dad Strength site perspective. And now on to baby wipe warmers. So for this essential item, and again, this is something that is going to give us a focus for an article on the site. So check out the site. Favorite us on Apple News, the Leahey report. But the baby wipe warmer is perfect to have whenever you have a very young infant. It warms the wipes. So you take your baby wipes. I think I've talked about them before, maybe. I have to look at my list. But the baby wipe warmer will warm the wipe so that it's not cold on your baby's bottom. And you know what helps out? It's that it helps because in the middle of the night at first, your child's going to wake up and need fed. And whenever you touch her or him with a cold wipe, they are going to cry out, which is going to wake them up even more in the middle of the night. So the nice wipe warmer warms the wipe so they're nice and warm. It's soothing to the baby, and it won't give them that shock. Think about it this way. Someone wakes you up in the middle of the night, they dump some like an ice, they touch you with an ice cold rag in the face or even the butt, whatever, just touch you with it. You're going to be in shock. It's going to scare you. You're going to jump out. And that's the same thing that's happening with your baby. Like you might think, well, they're up there crying a little bit. They're like in the middle of the night, they're still tired crying. Like they're crying because they want to stay to sleep. And there you go. You have it. They're crying a little bit. You're like, oh man, I should wake them up a little bit. Boom. There we go. And now you have it. They're already wide awake. It's going to be tougher to get them back to sleep. So get a baby wipe warmer. This will warm all the wipes to a reasonable temperature. I haven't seen like a problem. We have ours in now. We still use it as she gets older. It's soothing. It's better. You don't want to irritate their bottom either. Some of the cold ones, when they're cold, the wipe will stick to their leg and stuff. And yeah, if you're traveling, you have to throw one in your purse or in your diaper bag. Yes, the wipes are going to be cold. So you can't have it everywhere. But a wipe warmer at home, perfect. Warms up, soothing to the baby. Wipes them clean. And that's perfect because it won't put them in shock. It won't stick to them. The cold ones will stick to their bottoms. And then it kind of gives them like that. You can get some diaper rash from there if you don't get it from like rubbing or whatever. So there, a nice cold shock to the bottom has your kid screaming. So how to avoid that? Go ahead and get a wipe warmer. So that's my item for this week. Again, we're going to kind of just start grooving into these. So the podcast itself, I'm going to talk a little bit more personal stuff as we migrate, but the posts that go along are going to follow the format of one new item for babies. And that's the reasoning behind it. If you were curious, like why is this big transition happening? It's because we were getting published on Apple News under the Leahey report. And now I have to produce content each week to, I guess, keep that. I don't want to get kicked off Apple News. So I want to make sure that articles are coming out. At first, it's going to take some time to get everything moved over, of course, because we've been going for like 6 months. So, hey, I think it actually is this weekend would be the 6-month anniversary of us starting. So pretty cool. And through the first year, again, my goal was to just have everything go, all systems go, get everything moved into it. Perfect. We're going to be at the standard URL, the Leahey report, no matter what. Hopefully we can stick with Medium. Hopefully that's around. Perfect. That will work great for us. Very bare bones. At least I can get all the content into one site, expanded and published on Apple News. And hopefully, I haven't got this started yet, but Facebook Instant articles. I think Google AMP, that would have to be handled by Medium. I knew Blogger for some reason didn't do that, which is a bummer because that's a Google platform and Google's the one pushing Google AMP. But the baseline is I'm trying to get all of our content available in as many platforms as possible because that's the goal. I want the show to grow. So thank you for listening. If you have any feedback, let me know. If you want me to cover any topics, any items, let me know. Because I'm probably going to go ahead and once the essential items for it's going to be new dads, I've settled into that because I was going to keep it going forever, but it's better again just to end it here. That will mark the end of the transition period probably and the beginning of us moving in towards like a new type of show where I talk about just different items and toys and just different things, developmental stuff. I can get back into it a little bit. But that's the reason behind our change and why it's been a kind of like a rocky couple of weeks. But stick with it. If you enjoyed the show, check it out. I'll still be hosting it. And we're going to be in a great new expanded location. So thanks again. I'm your host, Richie Leahey. I'll see you next week.